Hi everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy Thursday to you and your family. We're looking at here at Chiliz once more. It's been a little while since I covered this last, but wanted to go ahead and cover it once more. I got a lot of requests for this. And also, of course, with World Cup and all that, it makes sense to go ahead and get this quickly reviewed and see what's going on. So if you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade. I really hope you can learn something here today. If you want to become part of the, my trading community, cryptocash.tech is a site where you can register. I do recommend registering before year end, just based on the fact that you would be grandfathered in and new rates are going to be essentially increasing next year, so just bear that in mind. But if you want to become a better trader, you can trade with the best. We've got some amazing traders in the community here, just killing it with a lot of short positions yesterday as expected with the overextension for Bitcoin. So a lot of cool stuff there, so keep up the great work, everyone. Super proud of you guys. You're doing awesome, and everyone's using the best exchange in the world too. I don't just say that every day. I technically do because I love this exchange, but I've used Bybit and KuCoin in the past and really thought those were good at the time, but honestly, Bitget's the best exchange possible. They also provide a $10,000 prize pool monthly to my community, which is really great, and it's all based on trading volume and profit loss ratio. So, again, just do what you do normally, and you'd benefit from that as long as you use the link in the description below. So with Chiliz, here's what we want to kind of look at. We want to redraw out some Fibonacci retracement levels, because these are all well and good for major key level Fibonacci's, kind of identifying specific levels in the larger movements, but we're not really there yet. We're kind of doing smaller movements here, so we kind of want to look at the little smaller time frame, if that makes sense. So what you do is you want to draw it out from the most recent high to the most recent low, and that's effectively what we're looking at there. Okay, so we're going to see what this has in store for us here and kind of take a quick perspective. So let's touch base on the moving averages and kind of see where we're at. We're underneath all three, big surprise. Unfortunately, we're well below the 200. That's never a great sign. That'll work as a resistance level. And of course, we got the 50 working its way down too. That is effectively considered a golden cross, or sorry, the inverse of a golden cross. Death cross, kind of a little more ominous, but it is absolutely something that could well happen. So you gotta keep in mind, that'll provide a lot of resistance if the price were to come back up to that level, okay? So just expect the 200 to be a strong resistance level. I wouldn't worry too much about this little green guy here. The 20-day SMA isn't super strong. Getting above that was positive, but it's not like it's a deal breaker. What is positive here is that we're seeing a bounce off of 30 on the RSI, so that does tell us we shouldn't expect anything lower than this. Granted, there are cases and points where you can see some outliers. It's rare, but you can see prices below 30 on the RSI on the daily. So for the most part, with those exceptions aside, staying right there at 30 and bouncing off 30 is a positive sign that does imply the bottom is tentatively in, okay? Furthermore, we have the most recent resistance level. See if I can get this to show you here. We can see that we had a strong resistance level in this area for some time before the price broke up and effectively did a massive short squeeze and continued upwards. That is essentially the support level now. So right there at about 13 cents even is effectively a strong support, reiterating the fact that, hey, nobody wants the price to go any lower than 13 cents. While we're at 14.3, still a ways away from that. If it comes back down, that should work as a support. Moving on here as well, we also have a potential convergence on the MACD, so a long from Chiliz would make sense in the relative near future. Keep in mind, Bitcoin is struggling and traditional markets are as well. Bitcoin continues lower, Chiliz could too, but how much lower than 13 will it go, right? So we might want to consider taking entry either now or closer to 13 to effectively be able to average a good price in. So that's not a terrible strategy, but with the MACD here converging on the daily, or at least potentially converging, we're not there yet, but soon, that's a good sign. That's a positive sign, okay? So we don't have any fantastic stuff here. I wouldn't say that you want to take Chiliz long to 30 cents, because the likelihood of that is fairly low, but it is still probable, or possible rather, okay? Probable, not likely, but also possible too here. So just keep that in mind if that makes any sense how I describe that. Sorry, it kind of sounds very circular. So let's look at the 4 hour, kind of go from there. Because the 4 hour tells us kind of more transitionary what's happening here. We can see that we've converged on the MACD, or effectively bounced. That's the same thing, which is good. Gives us that positive momentum to the upside. We can also see that we candle wicked down to this Fibonacci retracement level at about 13.23 times already. So not necessarily saying that's a triple bottom, but that's definitely looking like a double bottom to me. Okay, so we should experience some type of increase as a result of that in the relative near future. I'm again not expecting this to happen right away, but I think soon that might happen. So Chiliz is looking pretty decent here in the 4 hour. We're up above 50 on the RSI, so the great news is it's consolidating at 14.2 and holding above. That's kind of reiterating the fact that we have a support level at 50 on the RSI. Okay, so again, those are two things we kind of want to use to our advantage to understand roughly what we're doing. And generally speaking here, we've got mostly positive here on the 4 hour and slightly positive on the daily. Those two kind of things adding together for about a 60-40 split here as the likelihood of further upside. Just keep in mind, this sell-off here is definitely making sense because it was overextended to the upside. So if we take a look at this, we can see we came up to a 6, and of course we've pushed a little bit harder than we should and got to, essentially rejected off that 14,000. 14,000. Sorry, I've been reviewing Bitcoin a lot lately. $14. Oh no, correction, 14 cents, 14.8 cents. Yeah. So essentially one of those levels that's a Fibonacci retracement. You can see this here a few times as we hit that level and turned around. Okay, so again, the more likely you retest level, the more likely it is to break. So there is potential we could see further upside, but it would make sense the price kind of goes sideways, potentially down, and then it comes back up again, or essentially just goes up from here. But the likelihood of it going up away from 13 cents makes a lot more sense than if it were to go down below that level. 13 cents should hold as a support. That's kind of what it's looking like here. So that's kind of where we're at there. You got to keep in mind though, on the hourly, what we want to look at too is TD sequential, Ichimoku cloud. And what we can see here with the cloud is that we are in good shape for the most part. In other words, the lagging span hasn't intersected with the price action yet. We've got about 12 hours before we get there. Conversion lines above the baseline giving us that indication that the momentum is continuing, as we saw in the 4-hour moving average convergence divergence, and of course we're above the cloud too. So this kind of reiterates the fact that if the price were to come back down, we should find some kind of support in this area here between 13.7 and 14.2. Okay, generally what we're looking at there. So to me, this is mostly positive stuff, and I think that Chiliz has great potential to do a lot better, especially with the World Cup coming up here soon. I think that we are absolutely going to be in a situation where we might see the price be more likely to increase than decrease, okay? So to me, I might consider an entry with 2 targets. I love doing 2 target entries. So in other words, we effectively put an entry in, just say in this range here, right about 14.2. Then potentially another entry, right, and just say the 13.3 or 13.4 range, so we can get filled if the price does kind of wick down there again. Okay, there's potential for that. Keep in mind, no guarantees it's gonna go up, but we have a lot of positive here, more positive than negative, and that kind of tells us that we're, again, probably about a 60-70% probability of further upside than downside. Just keep in mind, this has been downsiding for some time here. In fact, if we take a look at TD sequential, it's fairly overextended, okay? So how much lower can it go from here? The likelihood is pretty low. Keep this in mind. When you have 2 9s on TD sequential on the daily, that's rare, really rare to see that. So when you have those kind of occurrences, it's going to turn itself around, right, in most cases. Because look at this here. Previously, we came down to a 9, then a second 9. Oops, sorry, that was the wrong guy. So we got a 9 here, second 9. Yes, it wicked down here for a couple of days, but then it came off with a strong tear up to the upside. Furthermore, you see this, we hit a 7, and then we came up to another 9, and it raked down, okay? So again, we're seeing multiple 9s on the daily, leading to significant turnarounds. So what's the probability of this price turning around from here? I think it's fairly high. That's my personal opinion. So I think we got about a 70% probability Chiliz working its way back up versus going down. Okay, it makes a lot more sense for it to come up than down at this point, considering how strong it's held at that key level support. And of course, a lot of contributing factors on the 4-hour, which is a transitionary time frame, telling us that the daily is going to get much better very soon. Okay, a lot of positive stuff. So that's essentially what we're looking at here for Chiliz. Hopefully that made sense and I described this correctly for you. Again, these are just things that I do every single day for a living, and I can tell you it's a very comfortable lifestyle, and interacting with my community is equally as beneficial. I just love working with everyone here. So I can tell you that things are really awesome with that, so be sure to check that out. Again, consider subscribing before year end, just because you're going to be able to lock in your rate, because next year rates are increasing essentially just based on supply and demand. And again, I do also offer trading signals as well, which essentially allows for you to kind of benefit from the signals that I send out. And we took 103% yesterday after 16 days for a nice swing trade there for Bitcoin. Okay, so a lot of good profits to be taken ultimately, but at this point, we're in good shape, and I'm super happy to be able to trade with some awesome traders. So keep up the great work, everyone. Appreciate you. Love you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care.